Hey everybody, and welcome to our early comics preview video. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is our bigger show where we show you some of the biggest and best books that you can order this week when they're up on the website, infinityflux.net. They are coming out Wednesday, so you don't want to miss that. Now, there is a little bit of a thing we got to talk about. So lately, for a couple of weeks, the shipments for DC stuff have been a little bit late, so we actually don't have any DC or Image. Anybody who's from that distributor to talk about today, except for the first thing.
Right.
But we wanted to let you know that we will probably have a show tomorrow if everything comes in that will talk about some of the biggest DC and Image books. Matt will probably do that. I might not be here for that, but want to let you know that this is kind of a part one of two. Hopefully, if everything pans out well. But we still got a bunch of cool Marvel and Boom and that kind of stuff to talk about today.
Yeah, and just to let you know, like, it's not just our story either. Like, it seems to be almost nationwide. They're having a little bit of shipping problems with the stuff, with your DC books and Image and things like that. So your shop might have gotten them late too, if you shop somewhere else. But hopefully they will all be here on time for Wednesday. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see.
Yep, and so we'll just keep powering on with the books that we do get this week. Starting with
The Moon is Following Us, #1. So we did not actually get this in store, but we were able to read a digital preview version. So we wanted to go ahead and talk about this just in case we don't have a show tomorrow, because this book is awesome. So this is written by Daniel Warren Johnson. The art is by Riley Rossmo. And this issue starts in the middle of this big epic saga. And I feel like over the course of this 10-issue series, we're going to learn how we got where we are, what exactly everything is. So we start right in the middle with a husband and wife duo named Duncan and Sam. They are planning to break into what looks like this big medieval fortress, like a big castle, if you will. They're trying to rescue their daughter Penny, who they say was taken from them 6 months ago. We see them talking to a little talking frog character, and it's obvious that this is some kind of fantasy world. They're getting help sneaking into this fortress. And they do try to go the stealth route, but it doesn't last very long, and eventually they are just faced with the full wrath of the fortress's minions. The wife, Sam, she seems much more combat ready, whereas the husband, Duncan, he's a little bit more reserved. He's a little bit more defensive, where she's a little bit more offensive, that kind of thing. And I won't tell you how that whole raid on the fortress goes, because that's most of the issue, is them trying to navigate through this big castle-looking place while all of these, almost like demon or creatures are trying to take them down. But it's very obvious that this is not just set on Earth. This does have very high fantasy elements, but there's also some sci-fi elements as well. So it's a nice blend of both of those types of storytelling. I will say that by the time you get to the end of the book, you do understand, or you understand at least a little bit more, what this world is, where are they, that kind of thing. And like I said, over the course of this 10-issue series, we are definitely going to learn more. How did they even wind up here? Who are these people in the first place? And how did all this happen? Really, really good, though. A really interesting story. Riley Rossmo's art works so well for this fantasy-type setting.
It's a very specific type of art. And when it hits, you know exactly, like, oh, this is the kind of story he needs to be doing.
Yeah, these fantastical characters. There's some, like, talking anthropomorphic type characters, and then there's some other human-looking characters, but looks like they belong in a fantasy setting. And like I said, but there's sci-fi elements, too. So it's just a whole hodgepodge of everything cool that you love to read in comic books, and it's all in this. So can't wait to see what else happens in this 10-issue series, but I highly recommend it. So this is our A cover. We do not yet have any of the variants to show. Hopefully we will have some of those tomorrow, and you can check it out on the infinityflux.net website to see all the variants. But highly recommended. Daniel Warren Johnson can do no wrong, when it comes to writing and drawing. And, this is another great book from the two of them.
Yep, absolutely. Had to take that away. Okay, next up we have a big one that we've been waiting for a long time. This is Dazzler #1. This is going to be your next mini-series. So this is by Jason Liu and gorgeous art by Rafael Loureiro. Loureiro. It's really nice and clean. I really like the art in this. So of course, after the treacherous time on Krakoa era, and the moment, which I forgot until they brought it up in here, where they were choosing the new X-Men
Oh,
team.
right.
And literally, they chose them on a team. Dazzler was one of the members, and then the next panel, they all died.
Yeah.
So Dazzler has been through a lot. Allison Blair is back alive, kind of trying to find a place in this world now that it's all
Mhm.
different now, and the way the mutants are acting and
Well,
everything.
plus, mutants are having to live among humans now, when before they had their own
Yes.
island, their own nation.
Yeah, they kind of did a little bit of it to themselves.
You're right.
But she's fallen back on what she's always been, a superstar, and she's heading on a world tour with the very distinct Dazzler style, which is really cool, with all the lights and
Yeah.
the really glam, and she's even in the universe, she's been doing this for a long time,
Mhm.
so she's an old pro at this. But she's ready for it, and she heads out with her team of the anti-hero Domino. But this time, I would want Domino as my head of security on
Mhm.
staff, because I feel like nothing really too bad can happen to you with
Yeah,
Domino around.
luck is always on your side
Yeah,
with Domino
you
around.
know, one of our favorite, the Man, Strong Guy, is
Yeah.
there. And we also have Multiple Man, who's there as kind of the crew, which,
Right.
I mean, a lot of grunt
Yeah.
labor for Multiple Man. We have Shark Girl as the drummer, which is a really interesting story with Shark Girl, what goes on in
Yeah.
this. And the PR person, which is Wind Dancer, which I'm not too familiar with that
She
character.
is a pre-existing character, but I'm not familiar with her either.
Yeah, so this is really cool. So she's about to go on this tour, but because of all of the kind of anti-mutant protesting and everything, you see kind of both sides of this, like people protesting outside the concert, but then a lot of her big fans on like phones and videos and everything, getting dressed up, getting ready to
Yeah,
go
oh,
to
yeah.
this concert, and it's really cool. But that's you know something's gonna go down, and they also tell Allison, like, you can't use your powers for anything offensive or
Yeah.
anything that might scare
Like
people.
combative. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course that's when there are multiple attempts on her life. And I don't want to say who. One of them is scary. Like, there's one in the crowd. I'm like, that's a real problem.
Yeah.
But there's a supervillain attack, and I don't want to say who it is, but it's a very mad woman who maybe is working for someone,
Yeah.
but we don't quite know the full story here. But what I thought was cool is, as Dazzler is fighting this villain, she does it in with her style and without missing a beat, while the sparks fly and everything, and she's doing all of her things. She continues to sing.
She makes it look like part of the show,
Yeah,
because she doesn't want to just outright stop everything and get in a big fight, because she was advised to not do that. So
yeah.
she's like, I'm just going to make this part of the show, fight this villain, and still sing and use my light powers, and everybody's going to eat it up.
Yeah. So really cool. She kind of turns it on its head by
Yeah.
like making it part of it, and but it'll be. I don't want to give away too much, but we don't really know too much where this is going. We don't know what the series end game is. Is she going to be brought back into the fold, or what with a
Yeah.
lot of these singular ones? But long story short, I really liked it. I thought it was really cool. It's not going to be for everybody. But for kind of a middle, like a younger crowd, or a crowd that, like, if you're already predisposition for liking Dazzler, it's not like hyper action packed, but there's a good fight scene as she's on stage, and she's a very like inspiring character and stuff. So I really liked it. I recommend it. If you look at the cover and say that's probably something I'll like, that's
Yeah.
the crowd for it. But I liked it. So we do have some really great covers here. We have this Ashley Witter variant, which is really cool. I like, she kind of still has her like 80s style.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She has a couple of costume changes.
Yeah. We've got the Derek Chew cover. We've got this nice
Oh, that's my favorite one.
Kari Andrews foil variant. We have a Savage window shades variant. She almost is more like a Marilyn Monroe in
Yeah.
that or something. And then lastly, we have a blank space Dazzler cover.
I see what you did there.
Yep.
I guess that villain that attacked her had some bad blood with her, right?
Yep.
Oh, you got all the.
So, you know, if you listen back to what I said, you might get the joke.
I didn't pick up on a lot of that, but very nice, very well done.
Thank you.
All right, well, I've got Deadpool number 6, and this is the first appearance of Deadpool's daughter Ellie as Deadpool.
She's been in this. I mean, she was from the previous Deadpool series.
It's not her first appearance, but it's her first appearance. And well, we don't have a cover with her, but but it's the first appearance as Deadpool. Even though they don't really call her Deadpool, but she's in full costume. There have been some images released in the solicitations and some variant covers you can see her. So this all happens in that, and this is also the issue that Marvel advertises, the one where Deadpool dies. That's not a spoiler. That's not me telling you that. Marvel told us that months ago.
They told us that in every book that came out. Like every ad was like, killing Deadpool.
Yeah, we're killing Deadpool and making his daughter the new Deadpool. And that kind of sort of happens, I guess. But again, not a spoiler. Marvel told us.
Comics, no character is ever fully dead.
Especially Deadpool. But I will say that at the beginning of this, Deadpool is not dead. He's out of commission after his battle with Death Grip last issue. He's missing an arm and a leg. He's healing very slowly. And he says that, our business, we need to bring in money. And so he sends out Taskmaster and Ellie in her new Deadpool-looking costume.
I like her costume, too.
Yeah, it looks really good. And his symbiote dog daughter, Princess, he sends them out to steal a briefcase from this big Russian mobster. And the reason he wants to do that, I won't tell you what it is, but it's very, very funny. So the three of them go out to do that. Of course, it's easier said than done. And the whole issue is very, very action-packed. The artwork is fantastic. Just lots of cool fighting and everything like that. And it's just a lot of fun. There's like several moments in this where I laughed out loud. I thought the writing was very funny. But then you get to the end, it takes a bit of a turn, and I won't say anything more than that. But this was just a really good issue of Deadpool. I don't think that his daughter being the new Deadpool, I don't think that's going to be the permanent status quo. I feel like maybe it's just for this story arc.
I had to ask, does it seem like she's going to be Deadpool going forward for a little while?
Well, there's no indication one way or the other. Yeah. It's just my feeling that it's going to last this story arc, and that's he'll probably come back afterwards. I don't know for sure, but just wanted to go ahead and put this up near the top of the show because this one was a lot of fun. Like I said, great artwork, great action. It was funny. And then a little bit of a turn at the end. So yeah, very, very cool issue of Deadpool if you've been reading this. So there's our A cover right there. And then we have this really cool Godzilla variant.
He doesn't look too concerned.
No.
Okay, next up I have X-Men number 4. So another X-Men book. Feels like, we go through phases and we're in the X phase of Marvel right now. This one's really interesting. So this one, like how all of them have kind of been so far, is a little bit of a standalone story, or at least kind of a villain of the week, but, kind of building a bigger story by doing that. So in this, a message has gone out, like, publicly from Trevor Fitzroy. And I know he's an existing character, but I can't think of, like, where I've read him before.
I think he was around, like late 80s, early 90s when Bishop first appeared.
Okay,
I think he was part of all that.
He's like a very theatrical character. He's got green hair. And he is running a group of mutants called the Upstarts. And basically what he says, like, he's definitely, like, very ego-driven. And he's like, I actually want... since everyone's kind of against mutants right now, what would make you like us more? Well, what if we went out and killed the new mutants that are forming, that kind of the X-Men are trying to go rescue right now, and live streamed it?
Yeah.
Which I feel like is a really big problem.
I don't know what platform they would stream that on. They would get banned.
Yeah. But of course the X-Men are like, we've got to stop him. But Cyclops, which is interesting, and I wonder if we're going to see this story somewhere else, says that, hey, I can't join you on this because Quentin Quire and Psylocke were dealing with a psychic rescue mission.
I think that's next issue.
Is that the next issue?
I think so.
Because that's what I was like, oh, that's interesting. That feels like a whole other story.
Yeah.
But he said he tasked Magic with leading the team, which I think is awesome. I was really excited to be
Yeah.
like, yeah, she's awesome. So Magic puts together her team. Also, Beast, who has been very like, I'm just working behind the scenes in my lab and stuff. They're like, nope, Beast, you're going out
Yeah.
there as well, which is great because you actually see some really good Beast action scenes. But most of this issue is them fighting the upstarts and trying to rescue a mutant that has just developed their powers. That's all really good, but we do see, for one thing, the team of the upstarts is a really fun team of bad mutants, and there's one that apparently these are back from the Ecstatics days, and there's one called Orifice, which is just I think Trevor Fitzroy mentions, he's like, you can take him. He's really unpleasant to look at.
Right.
But he's really gross. There's some really cool characters though. There's one called Orbit that I didn't know any of these. Was like they all seem to have pretty cool powers. But we do learn a little bit of who all of these bad guys have been working for.
Right.
Trying to collect. Let's just say there's someone who the upstarts are like, well, why don't we just kill these new mutants? And someone behind the scenes says, that's not the point of this. I want them. And we find out who that is, and it was pretty sweet to see,
Yeah.
who it was. Not a new character, but a character we haven't seen in a while. But that's all really cool. And then there's a kind of also a dark twist at the end with some characters. I don't really want to say who it is, but they're definitely like thinking about what their position is on the team. There's a character playing chess.
Oh,
with
right.
someone else.
Yeah.
Someone playing chess with someone else via over a phone, which I was a little confused about, but also really interested in what this means. So, another great issue of X-Men. I continue to love this series. And Ryan Stegman was not on the art in this one. It was
Netho Diaz.
Netho Diaz, but art's still great. And Juggernaut's got some great moments. So it's another cool issue of X-Men as the story starts kind of fleshing out a little bit. We've also got some variants. So we've got this Chris Samney variant with Godzilla and Cyclops. Looks like they're working together.
Right.
We've got this really beautiful J. Scott Campbell, Emma Frost variant. I think there's one more Campbell cover that's going to be Jean Grey Phoenix.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's kind of your series of Campbell covers. And then we also have this 1 in 25 Aspinall variant we're selling for $14.99 with a very somber Juggernaut.
Poor Juggernaut.
Poor Juggernaut.
Oh, man. All right, so next up is Spirits of Vengeance #1. This is going to be a miniseries. I don't remember how many issues, I think. But this is written by Sabir Prasada, and the art is by Sean Damian Hill. And this miniseries is going to feature a bunch of different Ghost Riders: Johnny Blaze, Danny Ketch, Vengeance, Robbie Reyes. There's another one on a cover here. I don't remember her name, but I don't really know what the overall story is going to be yet. But in this one, we do see the return of Vengeance. So 90s fans, Vengeance is back. But at the beginning, he is kind of just a skeleton being hung up in a farm like a scarecrow.
Which I would kind of wonder if I was like, I'm putting together a scarecrow. This skull's weird and has tusks.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine.
That'll work. That'll work. So, and this almost kind of reminded me of like Jeepers Creepers.
That's what I got the feeling of, yeah.
Because these teenagers, they come to the farm, they start messing with it, and two of them start fighting with each other, which brings Vengeance back to life, but kind of in a weakened state, and he attacks them. Doesn't kill him though. But it does lead to a confrontation with the father of one of the kids and some of his buddies. You've seen it in like every B movie. Like he's gonna get his buddies and come get revenge. And he has a problem with the farmer, the guy who owns the farm, who seems to know Vengeance. I don't really know how, but of course, Vengeance intervenes and it goes about as well as you could expect. But then Vengeance, like he has a host, right? Just like. Zarathos is the spirit that possesses Johnny Blaze to be Ghost Rider. Well, Vengeance has a human host as well, and he senses that he's in danger, and so he's going to set out to rescue him, and that's at least going to be part of what this miniseries is about. But it's just cool to, have a whole bunch of Ghost Riders, or what I'm assuming will be a bunch of Ghost Riders together at some
I
point.
guess it's maybe each issue is going to kind of build out
Yeah,
the
maybe.
team or focus on a
Yeah.
different one or something.
Yeah, but this tickled all my '90s nostalgia bones. Reading about Vengeance way back in the day, so it's cool to see him again. So we have this A cover right here, and there's some cool variants. This is our EM Gist variant. This is the other character whose name I cannot remember, but this is our Chew variant. If you guys remember her name, let me know. Of course, you got to have your Scotty Young variant with a flaming bicycle. I want that Ghost Rider.
Yeah, he needs to join the crew.
Yeah, for sure. And then we have the I'm not sure what ratio this is. Maybe a 1 in 10. And I don't have the artist on here either. I thought this was, but we're selling this one for $9.99.
Called Ghost Cycler.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, we got another book I really love this week. It is Mutant Nation #1. So this is another one of your series. It's going to be running parallel with the regular Ninja Turtle series. So we have the, what's his name? Night Watcher?
Yep.
Night Watcher series. And this, I think, are the only two for the foreseeable future that are going to run alongside the main Ninja Turtle series. But this one is 2 stories. And the first one is written by Tom Waltz with art by Vincenzo Frederici. And the second one is Eric Burnham with art by Mattias Santaluco, which was your previous, during like the 150 issues, one of your main artists on that Ninja Turtles. But it's kind of like a story and B story. The A story by Tom Waltz is... which at first I wasn't sure timeline-wise where this fell, but as I was reading, I kind of understood it. But we find ourselves in a biker bar in Arizona, and there is a waitress named Farah who starts to get hassled by some local biker guys. They, oh, why don't you come sit with us? And oh, you're so pretty, stuff like that. And of course she's like, guys, I've got stuff to do. And then they do the thing you don't do. Grabbed her arm and was like, we're not asking or whatever. But what they don't know is in the employee of this bar, they have Raphael as kind of a bouncer security guy. And
it's all very Roadhouse.
It's very Roadhouse. And he is more than ready to rumble with these guys. So a lot of this is, him helping these people out. But he's got to keep moving. He's, he only works there for a little bit because he's kind of on a road trip on his motorcycle. And he gets attacked on his way, I believe, to Las Vegas by someone who initially we think of as an ally, but this might have been their only way of getting Raphael's help.
Yeah, longtime TMNT readers and fans will know who it is,
but it seems like they have a job for him that's basically like, hey, I don't want to pressure you into doing this, but I'm going to.
I really need your help.
I really need your help. And so it seems like that's where that story is going to be going forward. And the story is breaking into somewhere. I won't say where, but it's going to be really fun. And then our second story by Eric Burnham is about Casey Jones. So Casey, I guess, is living in Japan.
I guess.
Oh, I couldn't really tell. But we have April O'Neil calls him back because he tried to call her first or whatever. And when she calls him, he is in the middle of kind of a ninja fight, which is just so cool. So Casey Jones, but this whole time they're discussing stuff that's going on with Karai, Shredder's granddaughter, right?
Daughter or granddaughter? I don't quite remember.
But apparently, this picks up with some of the story beats that were in the Untold Destiny of the Foot Clan miniseries that just wrapped up. But something happened with Karai and made her change, especially to Casey, who is working close with her. And he's kind of trying to figure out what should I do about it. But little does he know that someone may be listening in on this phone conversation, and that story is going to continue as well. So I thought both of these were really interesting. I kind of understood the first one more than the second because I didn't read that miniseries, but I kind of got the idea of it when it finished. I was like, okay, well, I'll be able to follow this as it goes on. But if you're a big Turtles fan, you want even more Turtles, this is great. You've got some really great Raphael stuff in here with him fighting and action and some great flashback moments too, which I really liked about, I feel like all the Turtles are missing their families.
Right.
And we see a bit more of that in here as well. But really, really cool book, Mutant Nation #1. And then we also have some variants, of course. So we've got this one. This is the Lawson variant. We also have, this is cool, they kind of do a reverse. So this is the Santaluco variant where this is like Casey Jones focused. And then we have one, this is the Frederici variant, and it's by the interior artist of those stories. So this is like the Raphael cover. He also has, what's the little dinosaur's name? It's not
Pepperoni.
Pepperoni. He's got Pepperoni with him.
Or is it Pupperoni?
Oh, I'm not
I don't
sure.
remember, but it's a play on pepperoni.
Yeah. Which is like, that was a really complicated story during the previous run about how that character came about.
Oh, okay.
No, it's like a mutant triceraton.
Okay.
Mixed maybe with a turtle. And then we also have a 1 in 10 variant as well that we are selling for $9.99. Kind of get all the characters on that one.
All right, well, next I've got the Deathlok 50th anniversary special. There's a main story in this and then a quick little story at the beginning that kind of sets up the main story. The first one's called Warning Order. It's written by Christopher Priest and the art is by Dennis Cowan. And it's just a short little story, kind of a flashback about Deathlok before he was Deathlok. But that leads into the main story called After Action Review, written by Justina Ireland, and the art is by Carlo Pagulayan, and there are a few other artists on this as well that I did not take down. But this is just a one and done story celebrating the 50th anniversary of the first appearance of Deathlok. In this one, Deathlok is tasked with making his way through a war-torn Manhattan. This is set on a different Earth in order to save his former captain Simon Riker. But of course, he's going to have to face several different obstacles. He's going to have to fight his way there, basically. It's not going to be easy. And one of the obstacles is his onboard computer, which is constantly trying to shut him down and reboot him. But because his mind is overtaken, it can't. So he's got this like onboard computer that keeps sort of like mouthing off at him, and he's like, "Shut up," But yeah, so just a quick one and done story. If you're a Deathlok fan, you're definitely going to want to pick this up. But I will say that there is something very interesting at the end that I do wonder if it's going to play out in future stories. I don't know for sure. But with an ending like that, I don't see how you can't not come back to it at some point. But yeah, just like I said, a one and done with Deathlok. So Deathlok fans definitely grab this.
Almost sounds like a Terminator story or something, kind of a future.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of for sure. So there's our A cover right there, and there's some cool variants. There's our Frank Miller variant. We have this Dennis Cowan variant. So that's your interior artist on that first story, that first short story. And this is really cool, this Nick Bradshaw variant. Kind of like homaging his first appearance there. And that's it. That's all of them.
Very cool. It's hard to believe Deathlok has been around for 50 years.
Yeah, I know.
He feels so much like an 80s character.
My first exposure was in the 90s. So I'm like, oh, he's only 30 years old.
Yeah.
He's a 90s character. Nope.
Yeah, but he definitely has that feel of like coming out of the RoboCop and the Terminator and all that kind of wave. But nope, predates him. Okay, next up, I've got Star Wars Darth Vader number 50. So this is our final issue of Star Wars Darth Vader. I mentioned on our shorter show, this series there's been an ongoing Darth Vader series since 2015. That's when Marvel started publishing the Star Wars books again. And so we've always had a Star Wars and a Darth Vader title. And both of those are coming to a close. I have a feeling after we get this Star Wars Battle of Jakku, these miniseries, we'll find out that there's going to be a new ongoing Star Wars series. And I'm guessing probably a secondary series, but we're not going to get another Darth Vader series because this really does lead right up to Return of the Jedi, and that's where he dies. So,
Spoilers.
It'd be really hard to write a Vader comic after that.
Yeah.
But so this is, unless we get some mini series here and there, like the black, white, and red type thing,
Mm.
this is our last ongoing Vader series. So very sad to see it wrap up, but it was a really fun ending, and it did a lot of good wrapping up of storylines that have been going on for a while. So they wrap up kind of the main storyline that's been going on with the Schism Imperial, this kind of rogue group of Imperials that don't like Palpatine. That's all wrapped up. The main one I cared about was the Sabe story, Padme's former handmaiden who's been working with Vader. And she has, I think, some of the best moments in this is she interacts with characters I didn't expect. That's really cool. We got Ochi of Bestoon, who's been through all of this, which is, I love that character. He tries to save face as he's been going back and forth on what side he is, and that's really fun. But a key moment is Sabe meets Leia. And Sabe knows who Leia is. It's her, lookalike's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But Leia doesn't know ever what her mother looked like, but she doesn't realize that she's looking at basically what her mother would look like at that point. And Sabe wants to make sure that Leia won't stray from her path of the rebellion and goodness. And so you'll see on one of these variants, there's a kind of evil looking Leia.
Ooh.
And that's kind of from one of Sabe's thoughts of don't side with Vader no matter what. And that was really cool. And then finally, we do have the wrap up of the story of the Kitster and Wald, who were Anakin's friends back in his pod racing days, that have popped up here and there in this. And that was a really fun wrap up as well. So, your end of Darth Vader in this kind of, I guess, format that we're going to have for the foreseeable future. But it was really great. And I can't wait, as sad as I am to see that end, I can't wait to see what is next. Because this kind of opens the door for so many more opportunities. So we have the Kemen Coley connecting variant. That was with the Star Wars number 50. This is the one. This is the Derek Chew, and that's what Leia looks like in Sabe's thoughts, where she almost has almost like a Vader style armor, which is really interesting.
I think she looks a lot like oh shoot, I forgot her name from Spaceballs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Then we have our Phantom Menace. Is this the final? Oh, this is 20 of 25. So we still got 5 more. It's probably Inquisitors. Maybe the new Ewok series will have one, but we're still wrapping up those covers. And then we have this 1 in 25 that we are selling for. This is the Jiang cover. We're selling for $29.99, which is very cool. And we have this 1 in 50 that we are selling for $49.99.
All right. Well, I've got Spider-Man Black Suit and Blood number 2. Just like the first one, this is 3 different short one-and-done stories, all done in black and white with red accents, but they're all stories of Spider-Man wearing the black suit. And I really liked this issue. The 3 different stories, there's one called The Edge of Rage, written by Erica Schultz, the artist by Marcelo Ferreira. And it's set back when Spidey first started wearing the symbiote as the suit. And we hear both Spidey's inner monologue and the symbiote's inner monologue, although Spidey doesn't hear the symbiote's inner monologue. And Spidey takes on Morbius and starts to go a little bit too far before he stops himself, but the symbiote notices Spider-Man has a little bit of rage and he likes it. So he's like, I'm gonna try to get more of that. And that's sort of what leads you into back in the original issues, the symbiote kind of making him a little bit more vengeful. And there's another one, my favorite one, called Burgers, Fries, and Blood, which that should be a whole series of books itself.
See that.
But this one's written and drawn by Dan Jurgens.
Oh.
And in this one, Spider-Man and Daredevil take on Bullseye, which is really cool. And I like it because obviously the whole thing is in black and white, except Daredevil. He's all red, And it's just, I just like Spider-Man and Daredevil teaming up to do anything, really. So they team up to take on Bullseye. And there's another one called Shock and Awe, written by Greg Weisman and with art by Javi Fernandez. And Spider-Man's fighting the Shocker. He gets knocked out. So the symbiote takes over and basically is piloting his body. And again, he's the symbiote's a lot more rageful. Spider-Man comes to and says, "Hey, man, knock it off. We don't kill." He has to really try to work hard to convince the symbiote not to kill the Shocker, which it does. but there's a pretty macabre ending. Like there is
Hmm.
a little bit to the ending that I'm like, oh wow, that's that seems like that could be a story all of its own. So just three more really cool black and white stories of Spider-Man wearing the black suit. It's a lot of fun. So we have our A cover right here, and we've got a couple. Oops, God, I do that every time. There we have a Rita variant. And we have this 1 in 25. I don't have the Art Dooley, I think,
Yeah.
that we're selling for 24.99 that I like a lot. I like the red sky in the background.
Feels like this has been one of your favorite of the black, white, and some
Yeah.
things in a while.
Well,
It
because I'm
seems
a
like
huge black suit fan, and the stories and the art has been really
yeah,
fun.
and because of the black suit, it seems like it all takes place during like a very cool time
Yeah,
period
for sure.
in Spider-Man. So
Yep.
that's all really neat. Okay, next up, I've got a really interesting one that I don't think I fully understood when we talked about it on
Right.
our Comics from the Future show. This is the Graveyard Club #1, and yes, this is like trade paperback size. It is $9.99, but it is also an issue 1 because it sounds like this is going to be a at least a mini series. I'm not sure how many of these there's going to be, but yeah, this is a thick book. It's
Yeah.
got a 1 on the spine too, so if you put it on there like on your shelf like you're putting in graphic novels, it's going to line up
Yeah,
really
that does
nicely.
this does look like a trade for
Yeah.
sure.
So this is by Master of Horror himself, R.L. Stine, and art by Carola Borelli. And I did not get a chance to read this whole thing. I did not know it was going to be this size. But I read kind of the first bit of it, and then I kind of researched into what it's about. So this takes place in Gravesend. It's a sleepy little town, just really quaint, but it's surrounded by cemeteries. It sounds like almost on all sides, and the people there have just kind of got used to it. It mentions that there's more dead than there are alive in
Hmm.
this city, and the children, kind of in a flashback part, they grow up playing in the graveyard. They don't think anything of it. They play hide and seek and all of that. So it already has this kind of macabre tone to
Yeah.
it. But there is, we jump forward in time to some of the kids who used to play there are now a little bit older, and they're teenagers, and they like to hang out in the graveyard for other activities. And there is a high schooler named Parker West who is just kind of a cool high schooler or whatever. And it feels like part of this is kind of showing that they've gotten so used to the graveyards that they don't maybe respect them as much as they should or anything like that. It's just kind of part of the scenery for them. And he pulls a prank. I won't say what it is or anything, but this prank seems to maybe have even like disturbed something there and leads to a series of events that put himself, the people around him, his friends, family, all of that in danger. In a very kind of like I mentioned on the other one without reading the full thing, but the little bit I got was almost like Final Destination. Like, it's not like a ghost pops out and does something, but a series of events happens that
Yeah.
causes things to happen and may all lead back to him. This is really cool. This is perfect for Halloween. And it also says like, in this town, the safest place is the graveyards.
Mm.
So it's really cool. But in the back, there's some kind of page breakdowns. There's a lot of like bonus matter in this as well, like a trade would. So you've got some page breakdowns by the artist. You have character designs, which were designed by Dan Mora, which is awesome
Yeah,
to
there's
see.
some cool Dan Mora design work in here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I did not expect to see his name in here, but
Yeah.
yeah, he did some. He's well known for his great designs, and just a couple other little things in the back as well. So this is a nice, unit you're getting here. A $10 book, but it's like a graphic novel, and there's going to be more to come. I'm looking forward to now that I know what this is to look into. When are the next ones coming out, and
Yeah.
how many are there going to be? But this looks really good. The art is great. Definitely pick it up. But here's another really cool thing. So it feels like if you're to say, oh, this is a graphic novel, cool, but it's got a bunch of variants, and that makes me feel like, oh, it's a graphic novel with a bunch of
Yeah.
variants.
Okay,
So
it's like a
this is
hybrid, you know.
it is. It did say that this is released in comic book stores and bookstores at the same time,
Hmm.
but of course the bookstores aren't going to be getting the variants. And we got some great ones. So we've got our Merlotto Erica Slaughter variant, which they're doing with a lot of the Boom books.
She's not in the story, but yeah, Boom's got some. It's
It's
like
an
Marvel.
anniversary or something like that.
Yeah, it's just an Erica Slaughter like line of variants.
We have a Simmons variant. So I like this. It's like you can pick what graphic novel cover you
Yeah.
want. We have this Kaplan variant. We've got this Mercado, but this is like the Virgin of the A cover. We've got some incentives as well. Of course, they're a little bit pricier just because it's a pricier book, but we do have a 1 in 5 cover of that Kaplan one for $12.99, the Virgin cover of that. We've got the 1 in 10 that we're selling for $14.99, so not that much more. And then the really fancy one, this is, it looks like, I don't even have the artist here. It almost looks like a Frizzen or something like that. Let's see. Yep, this is a Frizzen cover. So this is the 1 in 20 Frizzen for $59.99.
Yeah, I can't wait to read that. I love stories like that.
The size of it now made me be like, oh, I definitely want to get
Yeah.
this. This feels
Well,
like a.
I remember us talking about it on Comics from the Future because I remember saying, "Oh, these kids are in a grave or in a cemetery and they pull a prank and it disturbs." I thought it was just a regular like 22-page book. I had no idea it
Yeah.
was that. Yeah. I guess if we had noticed the price, maybe we would have figured it out. All right. So next up for me is X Factor number 2.
2.
Yep, written by Mark Russell, art by Bob Quinn. And after X Factor's disastrous first mission, the last issue.
That was disastrous.
Yeah, like half the team didn't even come back from that, right? Well, so Havoc is promoted to team leader in this issue, and his first order of business is to find out what in the world went wrong on that first mission. And he's told his superiors tell him that the mission went bad because X Term, which is the group that they were going up against last issue, he says that they were told that X Factor was coming, and this group called the Mutant Underground is spying on X Factor and relaying their movements and their information to X Term or whoever else wants to know it. Well, Havoc has a hard time believing this because Polaris is involved with Mutant Underground, and they claim to be Mutant Underground claims to be this support group for mutants struggling to live with humans after the fall of Krakoa. That's all they say they are, but maybe that's not true. I actually don't really know that we know for sure yet, but Havoc's higher ups believe that there's more to them than that. Well, one night Havoc goes to a meeting of the Mutant Underground. He goes with Polaris, but it's not what he expected it would be. And then let's just say that things escalate pretty quickly. Maybe it's not necessarily because of the Mutant Underground, but he's hornswoggled in some way, we'll say. But yeah, so this book is really interesting though because Havoc really is trying to take this whole X Factor thing seriously. And it's nice because you have Polaris on one side, this Mutant Underground, saying we're trying to support mutants and we're trying to make life better for mutants. And it's like this grassroots kind of thing. But then you have Havoc working for X Factor, which is big government, government sponsored, that kind of thing. So they're sort of at polar opposites of this ideological spectrum. But Havoc he joined that team for genuine purposes. He really is trying to make life better for mutants, have better relationships with mutants and the government and humans and that kind of thing. So he's trying to do it all for good reasons. But it seems like his higher ups, his superiors, are a little bit more concerned with the public's perception of the team, getting clicks and views on social media, than really taking it seriously and being like an actual team for good. So I don't know how long Havoc is going to sort of put up with all that before maybe he puts his foot down, or maybe he's going to join the Mutant Underground and go against X Factor. I don't know for sure, but it'll be cool to see how all that plays out. So yeah, really cool issue, and it's set up, lots more big stories to tell. So we have our A cover right here, and then we've got a couple variants. So this is the Marcus Toe variant with Frenzy. And then this is the 1 in 25 Swaby variant that we're selling for $24.99 with
Nice.
Polaris. Yeah.
I like Polaris.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, I've got Spider Society number 2. So continuing this mini series for your Spider-Verse needs. The first one, they were all called together all the different spider people from across the Spider-Verse were all called together. But turns out maybe it was a trap. And this
Yikes.
spider society that we thought we were getting it turned out to be very different because all the main players got taken off the board really fast, and it is up to Aranya and some of the ones that are left to figure out how to get them back. And that's basically where this continues into as the Sinister Squadron, led by Gwen Stacy as like Green Goblin, leads this team of multiversal villains up against the remaining Spider Society. And I don't want to give it away too much of it, but there's someone, the Spider Society is not, or I mean, the Sinister Squadron is not working just by themselves. There seems to be someone over them. And I'll say it appears to be Madam Web, but not one that you will know. So I'll say this is probably, unless there's somewhere that I did not see this, the first appearance of kind of a dark Madam Web.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, her identity is very mysterious, but you do find out who it is at the end. And I was pretty shocked by who it was. So you don't want to miss that if you're trying to get all the Spider Society stuff, all the Spider-Verse stuff, because this one was pretty shocking.
Yeah.
So that is your issue number 2. But most of this is just action. It's mostly just the spiders versus the evil kind of doppelganger versions of the different villains. And then we also have this Chris Anka variant as well.
All right, well, I've got Avengers number 18 right here. And this issue's kind of special because, Storm joins the team. She was approached about joining the team last issue, but she joins the team here, but also another team member leaves the team. So we kind of swap out. But
you speculated before who it was. Were you right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was. So at the this is a continuation of last issue, and this one, Hyperion, right there on the cover. He is hurtling towards through space at near the speed of light, with the intention of colliding into Earth and splitting it in half. Because he has memories of, and this is cool because this references a lot the Heroes Reborn event from 2021. Where the reality changed and it was the Squadron Supreme who took the place of the Avengers. So he actually has memories of that Earth, and he's like, my Earth is dead. I have no reason for a living, so I'm going to off myself, and I'm going to take the entire planet Earth with me. So he is like hurtling towards Earth like a bullet, and when he collides, it's going to crack the world in half. So the Avengers, he broadcasted this plan to the world, so the Avengers are trying to stop it. And it's really cool because they actually have to reach out to a few other heroes to try to locate him in space. Like how do you find one person in the vastness of space? So they actually have to reach out to some other heroes around the Marvel Universe and they sort of like combine abilities to try to figure out how this all goes so that they can set a trap for him. But the trap that they set for him, it's pretty extreme, and they're actually kind of struggling with this decision that they've made. But there doesn't really seem to be any other option, and I'll leave it at that. But it was a really cool issue like this, just seeing the Avengers, but also some other heroes work together. It almost felt like a little micro event. Like it seems like it's like and there's like all these different characters are playing different roles that come together to form a greater good to beat the bad guy kind of thing. It felt like a very, very tiny event like that. But yeah, it was really cool. And like I said, Storm is on the team now, and it'll be cool to see her going forward. So we've got our A cover right there, and we've got this really awesome Godzilla variant. I would love to see that story.
Is that the one with Shin Godzilla?
Shin Godzilla, yeah.
Yeah, so he's got that double lower jaw and the purple beam.
This is our David Marquez variant featuring Hyperion versus Storm. Really cool.
Man, Heroes Reborn really messed up the Squadron Supreme because it's like they were kind of bad, but also like they had a great world that just got ripped away from them. And it's really messed with a lot of their heads. Right. Okay, next up, I've got Ultimate X-Men number 7. So this one's a little hard to talk about because I'll say I did not fully understand what was going on here. It's
just this is just us talking. I didn't understand what was going on either. I didn't understand it.
Yeah, very beautiful art by Peach Momoko. I'm just having a little. Maybe if I read this as a whole, I could follow it just a little bit better. But it does kind of jump around quite a bit. So we've got the Children of the Atom, which is kind of this church cult. It's hard to tell exactly how public they are.
Right.
I think they're pretty secretive because they kind of talk about in hushed tones, but they do have a pretty big facility, and we do see inside of that, as we learned in a previous issue, some of the mutant characters we know actually are part of this cult, and we see Surge and Natsu attend one of the Children of the Atom events, and you see kind of who their like high priest is and everything, which is really interesting and weird and kind of creepy. And this one, if you see on the cover, introduces Psylocke, but in this, so usually her name is
Quanon, yeah.
but this one she's called Canon, and
Kanon, Canon,
yeah, and she also seems to be attending their school, I believe. But she's very into like swords and martial arts and everything. The other characters don't really know her, but her brother is a low level like police officer, security guard,
sheriff's deputy, something like that. Yeah,
and he gets a report about a mysterious briefcase that washes up on the side of banks of a river, and of course Cannon wants to go with him to see what's up with this, why is it weird or whatever, and it's something pretty disturbing they find, but yeah, it's interesting. There's something that happens at the very end that's very odd. You've got like characters like Viper shows up in this, but I will definitely need to read this either all again as a whole or something to really get the nuances of it. Because I had a little hard time following the kind of trajectory of characters and stuff in this. But once again, like if you're enjoying this, you are going to continue to enjoy this because it's very much what we've been getting.
It does feel like the not the whole Ultimate Universe world, but the world of this book. It does feel like it's expanding.
Yeah.
So if you do like the Ultimate X-Men, you're gonna like this because you're starting to get more, and it's starting to get bigger, more characters. It's going to get deeper story, that kind of thing. We just had a hard time understanding it.
Yeah, and that's just us.
Yeah.
You know, your mileage may vary.
Yep.
And if you're loving this, you're going to continue to love this. So this is the A cover by Peach Momoko. We've got another cover with Peach Momoko. I'll say we still haven't seen too many of the characters use their powers, you know, in a big sense. You know, we've seen Armor a little bit do her thing and all of that, but I'm really looking forward to when they all go full out against an enemy. We've got this Del Mundo variant, which is really cool, kind of sketching. We've got a Wes Craig variant.
It's a connecting variant, right?
Yeah, that's a connecting variant. And we have this 1 in 25 Ruin variant that we're selling for $19.99.
All right, well, I've got the Spider-Boy annual for this year, and this is the next part of the Infinity Watch storyline. But just like all the other parts of the Infinity Watch storyline, you could pretty much read this as a one and done. And for example, I actually missed it was the Moon Knight annual. I missed that. That's when I was sick and couldn't come in for these videos. And I feel like I didn't miss anything whatsoever because these are so nicely like one and dones, or they're siloed, I guess, but still kind of telling an overall story. But this one's cool because Spider-Boy and Christina, they go to Coney Island. And Spider-Boy sees, or I guess Bailey, he sees this boy with the face of a dog. His name is Archie. It basically looks like a little boy with a dog's head. He sees him pickpocketing some people. So he, puts on his costume, goes out to stop him, because he thinks that the boy might actually be one of Madame Monstrosity's.
I was about to say, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I won't say whether he is or not, but he thinks that she's one of her experiments. And he tries to help him out, but he winds up getting in a fight with another classic group of supervillains that Archie, the dog-faced boy, was trying to impress. And if you've been reading Marvel Comics for a while, you'll recognize these villains, but I won't tell you who it is. So, it's mostly a Spider-Boy-centric story until Multitude and Apex, which are your Soul Stone and your Power Stone. They've been palling around for a little bit. They show up as well because they're tracking the Mind Stone, so they end up helping Spider-Boy. And like I said, it's a one and done story, except for the last couple pages. That's where the that's where the connective tissue comes in with the Infinity Watch story, and that's how all the annuals have been. But just another cool, even if you have anything else, but you like Spider Boy, you can absolutely read this and enjoy it. So there is our A cover right there, and we have this Clark variant, Spider Boy at Coney Island.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, next up for me, I've got Jim Henson's Labyrinth #1. Now, you've may seen a lot of Jim Henson's Labyrinth comics from Boom and Archaea, but this one's a little bit different. This is the actual first ever graphic adaptation of A.C.H. Smith's novelization of Labyrinth. So Jim Henson worked with Smith's, back years before the movie came out. It was kind of done almost simultaneously, and it's a more expansive version of the story. It still, was done with the intent of this is a movie, not or a novel adaptation of a movie, but they could just do more in it, and without the songs, things change a little bit, and so that's what makes this really interesting. So it's kind of adapted by Kyla Vanderklugt and artist Giorgio Spalletta, and it is really beautiful. It's the artist of the Alice in Wonderland comic that Dan Panosian did. Alice Never After, or whatever it was.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It's that artist, so it's really pretty, and you are going to see some changes from the movie. Some scenes change, and tonally some things change. So if you've been a longtime fan, or you're like, oh, I know the movie so well, you'll actually find some new stuff in this that it feels kind of like an expanded universe version of that. So great for longtime fans or new fans. The art is really nice, so don't miss out on this part 1, which kind of just covers the first, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes of the movie.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
I mean, it gets all the way up to where she is in, like, Labyrinth World.
Okay.
You see David Bowie.
I don't think it was called Labyrinth World.
Labyrinth World. Yeah, so that's really cool, and we've got some great variants. So you've got this Elizabeth Torque variant, and this one in, I'm not sure, one in something, one for $6.99, but it's the Virgin version of the Torque.
Do you have any others?
Nope, I am fresh out.
Okay, well, so I've got 3 Venom War tie-ins. I'm going to kind of lightning around these real quick, just to, if you're following the Venom War storyline, just to let you know what's out this week. The first one is Venom War Lethal Protectors #1. This is written by Sabir Pirzada, the artist by Luca Maresca. This one features Silver Sable and the Wild Pack, who I love Silver Sable, so I was excited to read this. Liz Allen actually reaches out to Silver Sable and the Wild Pack to try to steal something from the Life Foundation. We don't really know what it is yet, but it does involve them kind of quietly sneaking into the Life Foundation, to the building, to try to find whatever it is that they're trying to steal. But because there are zombiotes, we've seen them in all the different tie-ins, it's not long before they are overrun by zombiotes as well. And things look pretty dire for them, but Silver Sable does have a secret weapon that might help to even those odds. So, if you're a Silver Sable fan like me, you're definitely going to want to check that out. So there's our A cover right there. And we have this really cool Mercado variant. We've also got Venom War Deadpool #1. Deadpool's going to get in the Venom War a little bit. This is written by Cullen Bunn, and the art is by Rob DeSalvo. And Deadpool and his symbiote dog/daughter princess. And then Silence, who is another character who used to be Mania, for those of you keeping up with all the symbiote characters. They wind up fighting a horde of zombiotes in New York, just like a lot of the other heroes are doing in the other tie-ins. But they realize they're fighting a losing battle, so they actually retreat to the sewers and go somewhere that longtime Deadpool readers will recognize. And there's also some familiar characters in that place. And it's going to be interesting to see how they all fight and all that craziness, because there's some, I was like, oh, I haven't seen that character in a while, or that character, so it was cool to see all of them. So we have an A cover for that by Kim and Coley, I believe. That looks really cool. And then this is the Johnson.
Yeah, Dave Johnson.
Yep, right there. And then the last one is Venom War Venomous, #2. This is your Black Widow and Flash Thompson tie-in. This was written by Erica Schultz, the artist by Luciano Vecchio. This issue is action-packed. Black Widow and Flash Thompson are taking on a horde of zombiotes inside Alchemax. I guess maybe while Silver Sable is over at the Life Foundation. And Liz Allen, she has her own symbiote called Misery. She gets in on the action too. And she and Flash both learned that they're able to do something that might actually turn the tide of the Venom War, or at least might help turn the tide of all the zombiotes that they're having to try to fight. So, and actually, Silence figures that out too in the issue that she's in. So, 3 Venom War books this week. If you're keeping up with that, there's our A cover for that issue, and we have this really cool Lopez variant as well. With I like that one because her Venom, it's in the reflection of the water as her symbiote.
Yeah.
And then up here is like her face. That's it for Venom War stuff.
That's all you got?
That's all I got.
Wow. That, even though without the DC stuff, we still had a lot of things to talk about.
Mhm.
So a reminder, hopefully if everything comes in, there will be a video tomorrow going over, the biggest DC and Image books that are coming out. But until then, head over to infinityflux.net to find all of these books available right now to order. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe so you'll get our videos forever and always, because we keep bringing them.
And this Wednesday is the next episode. Obviously, our comics to pre-order in a Flash video, but also our next episode of our Infinity Flux letters page, our live stream where we take your questions and comments and we can interact with you, talk with you while we're streaming it, and yeah, it'll be a good time. So if you have any questions or things you want us to talk about, please leave them in the comments of this video or any video really, and we will collate those together and we will address them on Wednesday.
Yeah, it could be anything from current comic news to what's your favorite Batman run. Any question is open. Love to hear them. So until next time, see ya.